Tonight's F1 news. Hamilton says, I can catch Kimi. But can he? We will discuss it. Ferrari drama over Leclerc's statement about his Brembo brakes in Monaco. George Russell makes some bold statements about his future chances in 2026. And who's getting additional engine upgrades? We're going to be talking ADUO and Alpine, excuse me, easy for me to say. Alpine go to war with the FIA over Gasly's penalties in Monaco. We've got a lot to get into tonight. I hope you're all doing very, very well. This is F1 Grandstand. I'm Tony Craig, and if you are an F1 fan, then of course you're in the right place. Do smash a big thumbs up on the show, the video, if you do enjoy it and you're watching right now and you're all excited, you're having a good time. Put a big thumbs up on it. And also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, get it done. Subscribe to the channel, become part of the community, just like DT, Gemma, Queen of the Chat. Who else is in there? We've got Mario's in the house, Cal Coolit's in the house, Retro Man, Harry, Pacific Chef, Ronnie Purcella, Ron White. There's loads. Cal Coolit, Mario, F1 Engineer, Pacific Chef, Eric Venter, Richard Lawton's in the house as well. Everyone's in. Good to have you all with us. And if you join us for the first time, and this is the first time you've seen us on the news show because you're watching the watch-alongs, you're very, very welcome. Slightly different format. Yes, Jeremy, I see you. I'm always on time, Jeremy. Always. I'm like British Rail. Always on time. Good Night's in the house. Yes, GameCat is in there as well. So yeah, if you're just watching for the first time, you enjoyed the watch-alongs at the weekend. I'm sure you did. I did. It was a lot of fun. This is our news format. Daily live news every night, 7:30 GMT. And we've got a good show for you tonight. So Hamilton, where's this coming from? Lewis Hamilton says, I can catch Kimi. We're going to be discussing this in a minute, but this is coming out from ESPN. It's been reported, actually, from F1 Oversteer. And we're going to talk about the story first, and then we'll discuss it together. So, Lewis Hamilton, adamant he can catch Kimi Antonelli and win F1 title after moving up to second. That's our headline. Okay. So, as you know, Lewis Hamilton, great weekend. Finished P2 in the Ferrari. Back-to-back P2s. Canada P2, Monaco P2. He's very happy. He did better than his teammate. His brakes were working a lot better than Charles Leclerc's by the look of it. Charles Leclerc ended up in the wall with just only, 9 laps to go. Cost himself a podium. Tragic scenes. The debate is raging. Was it Charles Leclerc's fault? Or did the brakes fail? Charles is adamant, saying, I am not taking the blame for this one. It's the brakes. He might be onto something, and that is the next story. We'll come to that next. But right now, we're talking Lewis Hamilton. P2, great result. And whilst Hamilton admitted Ferrari are behind Mercedes when it comes to the quality of their cars, he still managed to deliver an excellent performance. But where's this quote coming from? Speaking to ESPN after the Monaco Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton admitted that he's beyond thrilled with the result, feeling as though the result had given him what he needed to compete for the championship. With him now in second place in the championship standings, Hamilton's going to urge his Ferrari team to give him the best chance at competing with Antonelli. He said, it's awesome. We have a race next week. So I'm like, come on, it's game on. Championship's not over. This is not over. This is fighting talk. And now I'm in a position where I can catch Kimi. And I never thought I'd be in this position at this point in the season. That's what I'm going to get my team to be focused on so that we can continue to be in the fight. I think that's pretty cool, isn't it? It is pretty cool. Like, I like to hear Hamilton speak like that. It's like, he's reinvigorated. He thinks it's possible he can catch Kimi. Now, here's my question to you, and this is our first poll, and then I'll tell you what I think. Okay, this is the first poll, which is, can Lewis, it's an easy one, can Lewis catch Kimi? I mean, and when I say Lewis, obviously it's not just Lewis, is it? There's a whole team behind him. Ferrari need to find some pace with their power unit. They need to find horsepower. I think that's the problem with the Ferrari car. It's not the chassis. Chassis decent. I mean, the brakes might be an issue if you listen to Charles Leclerc, but Lewis's brakes are actually quite fine. I wonder why. We'll be talking about that in a minute. So, yeah, there's a lot going on, but the Ferrari chassis does look pretty bloody awesome. Power's down, and we're going to talk about their additional upgrade opportunities, what they've been awarded, and how that's going to play out for them in an item coming up in a little while. But I want to see what you guys are saying. Lewis can, Ferrari can't, Pacific Chef says. DT says, I don't know, Kimi had like, what, a 38-second gap on LH before the pit stop started happening. Yeah, it was well into the 30s, wasn't it? It was a massive gap. But Mercedes do have a much better power unit. I think AKB, bro, just wait and see, guys. This season's going to be a banger. Charles will be using... CI from Barca. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to be talking about because the carbon industry thing's interesting, isn't it? The news, because I want to save it for the next story, because that is actually the next story tonight, and I'm going to save that conversation for then. But you are right. The conversation about carbon industry's discs on the Ferrari, it's there's more layers to that we need to talk about. And we will get to it. Alan Wilson says, talk like that. A harbinger of failure. What's a harbinger of failures? I don't know I don't understand. You think he's setting himself up for a failure by being so positive? I think the main thing we can all take away is Lewis Hamilton is more positive than ever. He was so buoyant with his P2. And... yesterday, we were talking about Driver of the Weekend and Dipstick of the Weekend. Now, you all voted. Dipstick of the Weekend went to George Russell, mainly because he made the choice to come into the pits when it wasn't agreed with the pit team, with the pit crew to actually bring him in. And obviously, they didn't execute their 5-second penalty, so he ended up getting a drive-through, and it was a big mess. But actually, it's George Russell's fault. We're going to be talking about George in just a minute. But I missed a super chat yesterday from Gemma, Queen of the Chat, and it was really funny. When we were talking about Dipstick of the Weekend, Gemma said, nominee for Dipstick of the Weekend, the cameraman who kept focusing on Kim Kardashian. How much coverage did Kim K get yesterday? I saw Kim K as much as I saw Lewis Hamilton during the race. It was quite funny. But you know, and I'm gonna throw this out there. Lewis's uptick in form, it does coincide with his new relationship, doesn't it? Maybe Kim K's helping him out. And if that's the case, if you're a Lewis fan, Kim K, get her to all the Grand Prix, right? get her there every weekend. But no, it's nice. It's nice to see a different Lewis. It's nice to see a positive Lewis. Look, here's my thought, though. Oh, wow, it's closer than I thought here. So the poll is, can Lewis catch Kimi? 41% of you say yes, and 59% of you currently say no. Well, if you're watching for the first time, get your votes in, because this is an interesting one. I didn't think it was going to be as close as that, because listen, I love Lewis. I do. And I love this new positivity, this newfound confidence that he has right now. Look, he's had 2 good races, and credit where it's due. But 2 races doth not make a season. I'm sure that's a quote from the great Ayrton Senna. And if it wasn't, it should be. But 2 races doesn't make a season, does it? Kimi Antonelli looks so darn good, doesn't he? He was so impressive. And what, like DT said, he pulled out a 38-second gap in the first stint before the red flag incident because Lance Stroll put it in the wall. After that, in the last 10 laps, he pulled out about 7 seconds between him and Lewis after the restart. So, look, Kimi Antonelli's on fire. It's going to be hard to beat. The only way he's going to do it is to do with Ferrari finding some more power. And how are they going to do that before they've actually executed their additional upgrade opportunities? I don't know. So I think even though Lewis is driving really well, he's currently driving better than his teammate Charles Leclerc, who's no slouch. I don't know whether the car lets him down, whether he can actually catch Kimi. That's what I believe. I like to get excited about it if you're a Lewis fan, and honestly, if he does, amazing, absolutely amazing. But I think the car needs to get better in order for him to do it. So the pressure's on. It's not really a question of if Lewis can catch Kimi. And I think, who was it that said this? I thought they put it really well. Lewis, yes, can catch Kimi, but Ferrari, no. Saying that the engineering behind the car that needs to improve and get to the level that it needs to be is probably going to be a tall order. But hey, listen, Ferrari are doing good things. The car looks great. It's only the power unit, I think, that's letting them down. And we're going to be talking about the oh my gosh, what am I saying? ADUOs a little bit later. We're going to be explaining it all. Who's got the upgrade opportunities, how many upgrade opportunities they've got, what their budget is, and really that strange result that Red Bull are the benchmark power unit. I mean, that is fascinating, isn't it? First time out building an F1 engine with Ford, and theirs is the power unit, which is the benchmark, which is the standard. And Mercedes are 2% behind them. That is wild, but we'll be talking about that very, very soon. Flatlander says, being honest, I don't mind who wins that fight. I love them both. Oh, about Kimi and Lewis. I mean, it'll be a good fight. Well, we're going to be talking about George as well, because is he out of that fight? Okay. When DC asked Lewis after the race what was holding him back, he pointed to the car. That's what Patrick said. Yeah, Lewis knows. And I'm surprised. I'll be surprised if he didn't go straight up to the engine and point. It's not the car, it's that. It's the engine. Andrew Campbell says, do you remember I told you that Hamilton will be second in the championship after Monaco? Yes, Andrew, great prediction. Big Lewis fan, I know. Yes, Andrew, you're absolutely right. Cal Coolett says, unless Judge starts using voodoo on Kimi, I don't see it happening. Yeah, well, it's coming up. It's coming up. Antonelli won't win the next couple of races, but will still be in the points. Watch out for Hamilton. KB Bro's been very pro-Hamilton. You were very pro-Hamilton at the start when we were talking about Monaco, weren't you, bro? Yeah, it was like... And, you know, it's looking good. It's looking good. And we don't have long to wait. Next weekend's Barcelona, baby. And don't forget, Wednesday, we're going to be doing our prediction show Wednesday night. So get your predictions ready for that. So, my crypto space, if Hamilton is the hunter, watch. DT says, from America near an IMAX, tickets already on sale. Watch Silverstone on the big screen. I've done it twice already. Really fun experience. Yeah, DT said, you should be getting commission from IMAX. DT, you love it in the IMAX. Yeah, a great experience. Eric Venter, Merck pulled some political games. They just don't want a RB streak again. I mean, I don't know what's gone on there. I mean, we can't. I'm not saying there's any. I mean, it could be. It's dodgy. It could be dodgy. Can't really make an accusation. But I was so surprised that it was Mercedes Red Bull powertrain, which is the one to beat. I mean, honestly, so surprised. But we'll move it on to our next story. So yeah, I'm going to close this poll. Can Lewis catch Kimi? It's 50-50, guys. It's like 48% say yes and 52% say no. It's a coin toss. It's a coin toss. Brilliant. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be so close. All right. It's a coin flip. I hope he does. And if you're watching for the first time, welcome. This is our F1 Grandstand Formula 1 news show, daily 7:30 GMT. You're very welcome here. Get in the chat. Tell me where you're watching from. Get involved in our polls. I've got another couple of polls, at least one more coming on this show. But just get in the chat. Say hello. Tell us where you're watching from. Really friendly bunch. I promise you that. Get in the chat. Say hey. Tell us where you're watching from tonight. So that's Lewis. I can catch Kimi. Next, Brembo. Oh, there's trouble. Brembo fires back. Gosh. So we need to get into this one. Because Brembo released a statement about their brakes after what Charles Leclerc said. So let me set it up. It's lap 70 of a 77 lap race in Monaco. With just the red flag, the session was stopped. We had the restart. One lap into the restart, Charles Leclerc running P3 puts his Ferrari in the wall. The tarmac on the track had just been cleared up. The tarmac had been breaking up, which is a different conversation altogether. That shouldn't have been happening, obviously. But it was happening. But that wasn't to blame, according to Charles. It wasn't the tarmac getting pulled up. It was actually a brake problem. And Charles Leclerc put it in the wall. So, this is what he had to say. I don't know how much I can go into the details, but I don't think... Just not acceptable, Leclerc said after his exit. The issues I have faced with my brakes have been... Checked himself. It's not that it's difficult. It's that in this particular moment, it's just impossible. I cannot do anything. The only thing I can do is not brake for the last corner. But in an F1 corner, not braking in the last corner ends up in the wall anyway. I put the least amount of brakes I could possibly do, and it's not even braking. It's leaning my foot on the brake. The problem was the safety car. As soon as I did the safety car, 3 of my 4 brakes stopped working. I could never switch them on again. Nothing was working anymore. I tried to do many actions in the car to try and help it. The only solution I had was not to brake in the last corner, but I would have crashed in turn 1. There's no way I could have done a lap. There was just no solution, so we'll have to look into it. I don't know if it's a wear issue. It's often a problem here. I don't know what it was, but there was a clear issue. That was Charles Leclerc being quite damning about the brakes. Now, Brembo have been a long-term partner of Ferrari and actually every F1 team on the grid. But there are some allocations, like some teams opt for different brake discs, but calipers are all made by Brembo. Most of the braking components are made by Brembo. But the discs, you can choose, like Mercedes use carbon industry discs. And Lewis Hamilton likes carbon industry discs. Brembo have been a long-time partner of Ferrari. No one at Ferrari has been using carbon industry discs. They've always been using Brembo discs as the relationship they have with the team. So, I don't know if you heard Lewis Hamilton say in his post-race interview, I was begging Fred Vasseur for something. I begged him. I had to beg for a change on the car. And thank you, Fred, for making that happen. Sounded like it was a big ask, whatever that ask was, doesn't it? It sounds like Lewis was begging for something quite specific that may have been problematic for Ferrari to give him. And now I think it's all become clear that that big ask he was asking Fred Vasseur to arrange for him was, well, you might piss off Brembo, but I want carbon industry discs. And I think that's the big change that Fred delivered for Hamilton this season. And I think that part of that was Charles Leclerc still ran the Brembo discs. Now, this is where it all gets a little bit interesting, doesn't it? Because Brembo Group came out with a statement after Charles Leclerc's Monaco Grand Prix exit. He said, the partnership between Brembo and Scuderia Ferrari has continued for more than 50 years and also extends to other brands within the group, including AP Racing Clutches and Öhlins Dampers, confirming the strength and breadth of this long-standing collaboration. At present, the company does not know the causes of the issues experienced by Charles Leclerc and therefore considers it premature to draw definitive technical conclusions before the available data has been analysed. In such cases like this, it's necessary to examine the telemetry data together with the team's engineers in order to accurately determine the origin of the incident. Brembo is a benchmark in F1 and is present on every car on the grid through its braking technologies over the years. F1 teams have continued to choose Brembo solutions, recognizing their reliability, innovation, and world-class performance. The group will continue to invest in innovation, reliability, and performance while continuing its collaboration with Scuderia Ferrari and all other F1 teams. That is a big statement from Brembo because they realise just how damaging Leclerc's statements are publicly about his brakes. Because now, anyone who knows anything about F1 probably, a lot of people will be aware of that relationship between Brembo and Scuderia. But this is where it gets really interesting. At the end of that scathing, my brakes didn't work statement from Leclerc, what did he say? He said, we have another solution in the garage. Lewis's configuration. I will be switching to Lewis's configuration for Barcelona. I didn't do it earlier, but I will be doing it for Barcelona. Now, joining up these dots, and I know some of you have mentioned it, Carbon Industries brake discs. Now, what's this going to do to the Scuderia, the special relationship with the Scuderia Ferrari and Brembo from the last 50 years? It's going to piss them off because that is an absolute damning review of Brembo brake discs, isn't it? So Leclerc's basically said, I'm not using those discs anymore. Obviously, they have to use the other components, the calipers and the other bits and bobs. But Carbon Industries, and it was Lewis that forced that change. Now, Ferrari are not able to put out a statement saying, we ditched the Brembo brakes, brake discs, we've gone with Carbon Industry. But what can I say? Lewis Hamilton, back at the Italian, what was it? Was it the... in Italy, 2025, he said, these brakes are awful. And we saw Hamilton have many brake problems actually in 25. Remember Lifting Coast? Was it Baku when, you know, his brakes blew up? Right. He had brake problems last year. And he had wanted this change to Carbon Industry brakes discs last year, and it wasn't allowed. So he begged and begged and begged Fred for nearly 10 months to make this happen. And now, guess what? Hamilton... proven right. You have to say, don't you? Like, Lewis Hamilton's made that change. Lewis's brakes didn't fail. So that change was obviously a good one. Now Leclerc's going to make that same change for Barcelona. I don't know what it means for the relationship with Brembo. I don't know whether Ferrari have to pretend they're still using Brembo discs. But yeah, joining up these dots, I believe that is the case of what's happened with the brakes. What does it mean for Leclerc? I don't know. I don't know whether he now will find some extra performance. I think he will. Or, and this is the flip side, and we do have to talk about both sides of this argument, because I saw a lot of people on the comments from last night's video said it wasn't the brakes. Charles Leclerc made the error. You know, it's hard to believe it was the brakes. Other people, it was the same corner that Lance Stroll had his off. Same corner where the track was breaking up, which neither Stroll or Leclerc blamed the track for that off. But maybe it was being a bigger problem than they even recognised themselves. And yeah, it's going to be interesting because if Leclerc, for instance, doesn't, he has to get used to the new brakes as well. They're going to feel completely different, the new brake discs and everything else. But if he doesn't find extra performance, what excuse is next, right? And if some of the comments that were on last night's video, last night's show, said they believe it was Leclerc's error and it wasn't the brakes, I don't know, but it's certainly possible. It's a very embarrassing accident if it's driver error, isn't it? It's a very embarrassing accident to have because you've not been able to get the heat back into the brakes after the restart. Hamilton was able to get the heat back into his brakes perfectly fine, and most other drivers did too. So it's an embarrassing mistake when you're running P3 and it's your chance to get really good points for the team and to get both Ferraris on a podium, and Leclerc's running P3 and to make that mistake. So is it frustration? 10 laps to go and you put it in the wall. So it would be a terrible mistake to make. So would you want to hold your hands up and say, oh man, that was me? I don't know. But like I said, a lot of the community thought it was Leclerc's fault. I noticed that in the comments. I do read every single comment on the videos. But that's the issue. We're going to find out, aren't we? That's the thing. We do have Barcelona, baby, this weekend, and we'll see. That break is changed. So yeah, this is what Leclerc said. Oh, I've got to just round it up. Leclerc said, I really didn't want to change this weekend for what maybe this is what Leclerc said to round up his statement. I forgot to read it out. Talking about why didn't Leclerc change his brakes during the weekend in Monaco. He said, I really didn't want to change this weekend. And for that, maybe I am to blame in a way that I thought on a track like this in Monaco, it was good to start with brakes I knew. Considering the issues I've dealt with, and there are no solutions on track like this, there's not much to say. So what he basically said is, if I'm to blame for anything after Canada, knowing the brakes were bad, and Lewis didn't have a brake problem either, he finished P2 ahead of Leclerc, I probably should have made the call and changed the brakes for Monaco, and he said maybe you should have done that. So there you go. That's Charles Leclerc, and that's Brembo firing back. Yeah, so Daryl said, this is what I was just talking about, Daryl. The onboard shots showed a massive pickup where they're all in the corner on the left front, not marbles, but the breaking of the track. Yeah, I saw that as well, actually. I just need to make sure I've not missed any super chats. No, good. So yeah, it is an interesting situation. Why did neither Lance Stroll or Charles Leclerc blame the breaking up of the track when we clearly saw on the pictures through the onboard footage? You saw all that tarmac on the left front. Lance Stroll said it was the engine pulling him into the wall, and Charles Leclerc said it was the brakes not stopping him which put him into the wall. I don't know. Neither of them blamed the breakup of the track, which I thought was interesting. Anyway, by the way, if you are enjoying the show, plenty more to come. George Russell, he's given his bold statements about his future in 26, what he thinks he can achieve. Alpine have going toe-to-toe with the FIA as well. And also we're going to go through the ADUO opportunities and how they're going to roll out for both teams. So do smash a like on the video if you're enjoying it. If you haven't done it yet, if you're watching on replay, do get in the comments and have your say. And if you're watching and you haven't subscribed yet, what are you thinking? Come and join the community. Get in the chat. Tell us where you're watching from. Say hello. Just say, hey, this is where I'm watching from. And I know sometimes you like to watch and it's fine. You don't want to get involved in the chat. That's cool. But if you're a little bit shy, you don't need to be here. It's a community and everyone is absolutely very welcome. Okay, next story. Russell, what's he got to say for himself? George Russell still believes he's a believer. Are we a believer, though? That's the question. This is what's coming out today. So George Russell says, I can still become F1 World Champion in 2026. Okay. All right. Well, he's a believer. So when he was asked about Antonelli's advantage, if it was too great, George Russell responded, no, it's not. You look at Verstappen last year, but I need to get myself out. I don't know how we keep ending up in the same position. Things I need to improve for sure, but I know on clean weekends what I can do. And it's just unfortunate. I still very much believe in myself. I know what I can do. I think we're not even 30% of the way through this season, but there's a lot of points down the drain. And that was Russell speaking after the Monaco Grand Prix. Was he not watching Kimi Antonelli's performance? I mean, it's a brave... Yeah, the poll's coming, drop tuned. Poll. Yeah. I mean, look, I respect the fight, and I believe you've got to believe, right, if you're going to go for it. But wow, can George Russell still win I mean, statistically he could, mathematically he could, but will he? Can George still win the 2026 WDC? Look, I know there's a lot of George Russell fans. I like George in some ways. I think he's a quick driver. This is what I think about George. I think he's a very quick driver. If you'd have asked me at the start of the season, before I'd seen Kimi Antonelli in 26, I would have rated... Don't laugh. I would have rated George Russell as a top 3 driver on the grid. Truthfully, his performance last year in the Mercedes impressed me. I thought he extracted every last bit of performance out of that car. He finished the championship over 100 points ahead of Kimi Antonelli. It looked like he's taking his role as a lead driver in Mercedes, and he was handling it really well. He was delivering, and he got awarded with his new contract in the end, after all those shenanigans, Toto Wolff and Max Verstappen. But I'm thinking, just like everybody else, at the start of this season, before we saw any racing, I'm like, yeah, Mercedes, all the noises coming out about their power unit. I'm thinking this is George's best chance of his F1 career to win a World Driver Championship. Nobody factored in the Kimi Antonelli factor, the X factor from that kid. Like, nobody, I don't care who you are. Even though we watched him perform well at the end of last season, I don't know anybody who I'd spoken to in the off-season that said to me, Kimi's going to win this year. Honestly, there's people that say it now that retrospectively going, I told you that. I'm like, no, you didn't. Everybody I spoke, I would say 85% of my conversations before the start of the season were, George's year. It's got to be George's year. And then Kimi comes out of the blocks with, he's found a whole new gear. Like, it's unbelievable what he's doing. And has George got worse? No, is the truth. George, if you look at the racing in Canada, is still a bloody good driver. Wheel-to-wheel racing with Kimi Antonelli, and more importantly, holding Kimi behind him when Kimi was fast. Like, George was showing his skills, showing his racecraft. He dominated that weekend. He was driving brilliantly. He qualified pole. George Russell was having a fantastic weekend in Canada, and I think George Russell hasn't got worse, right? So I rated him a top 3 driver before this season started. And it's not like he's got worse. He's had some bad luck. It's just Kimi Antonelli has got so much bloody better than he was last year. He's taken a big step forward. So that's why this poll is interesting. Can George Russell catch Kimi? I mean, can he win it? He's got to say these things. He's got to believe it. But I think George Russell is it'd be wrong not to be shell-shocked with Kimi Antonelli winning 5 out of 5 races. George, by the way, in Australia, looked pretty happy, didn't he? He won the race. He's thinking this is going to be my year, the smart. And then all of a sudden, Kimi Antonelli. And even in Australia, Kimi had an awful start, didn't he? But Kimi's got his starts back, hasn't he? He's worked out how to get off the line in the optimum window. He's sorted it. And that was proven. He's never going to have more pressure than the standing start with 10 laps to go with Lewis Hamilton on fresh rubber next to him in Monaco. And he didn't buckle. Kimi's got his starts down. And that was the weakest part of Kimi's drive, wasn't it? Weakest part of his game. So, look, I'm not slating George Russell. I'm not bashing him. I'm just saying that George Russell, I don't think he's got worse. I just think Kimi has got so much better that can George find... He's going to need to find an extra gear to catch him. I honestly... And here's the... How about this for a statement? How about this for a statement? And you can laugh if you want. Kimi's form right now and pace. If you put Kimi and Max Verstappen in the same car, I'm not convinced that Max would beat him. I'm not. And everyone says Max is the greatest driver on the grid, the fastest driver on the grid. Right now, on Kimi's form, I am not convinced that Max would beat Kimi Antonelli right now. And in a way, this is me saying that, you know, Max was my number one driver on the grid before this season started. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not convinced that Max would beat Kimi in the same car. So it's not that George has got worse. It's just that Kimi is bloody quick. Bloody quick. I'm going to see what you guys are saying. Gemma felt bad for George after the Grand Prix. Yeah, a few people did. Like it's you know, you think it's going to be your year, but he needs to find an extra gear, doesn't he? If he wants to win. For me, Scott said he had a good launch next to Max as well. Does Max beat Kimi, Paul? All right, that's the next one. All right, I'll do that poll because I think that's an interesting one. But anyway, that's the George Russell story. Okay, so I'm going to close this poll. And I actually think, as it's come up, yeah, 72% of you say no. I'm with the majority on that one. But yeah, just on that statement. Okay, would Kimi beat Max in the same car? So yes or no, would Kimi beat Max in the same car? Start poll. Because I did bring it up and it's an interesting one. If you're watching now, by the way, hope you're enjoying the show. Do smash a big thumbs up and a big like on it. Let's see if we can get those likes up on the stream. It makes a big difference. It's a great way to support the channel. But more importantly, if you're watching for the first time, get in the live chat and get involved in this poll because this is a good one. This is a good one. Would Kimi beat Max in the same car? Oh, it's going to be close, this one. You know my view. I've just told you. I think right now, on form, I think Kimi could beat Max in the same car. I know it's controversial, but it's a good poll. It's a good poll. And also, tell me why. If you're in the chat, tell me why you're a yes or why you are a no. But that's George Russell. Now, we need to get into the ADUO. FIA engine twist. Some of you may know about this already and may have been reading about it. Whilst that poll's running on, I'll just fill you in. Red Bull. The Red Bull powertrain, developed with Ford, is the benchmark. And the best engine under the additional development and upgrade opportunities ADUO system. A lot of you will have heard that headline, but you may not know how it's going to play out for all the other PU manufacturers. I'm going to come to that right now. Oh, we got a super chat. Immature move by Russell, jamming everybody up on the restart. Well, do you know what? You believe in karma, don't you? If you do crappy things, karma gets you, Lincoln. Right? Thank you so much for your super chat, Lincoln. Very much appreciated. Thanks, buddy. All super chats guaranteed to be read out live on air. If you want to be like Lincoln, this is what you do. Get your super chats in. You can ask a question, share an opinion, back your team. But the main thing is join in the show, support the channel. That's what the super chats are there for. But every super chat guaranteed to be read out live on air. Now, getting back to the ADUO. So, any manufacturer that's 2% adrift of the benchmark Red Bull powertrain, with the first 3 such of the points, 2% down on power will get an ADUO opportunity. If the deficit is 4% or more, then the manufacturer allowed to get 2 upgrades this season and 2 more the following campaign. So if you're 2% down on power, you get 1 upgrade this season, 1 upgrade next season. If you're 4% down on power on the Red Bull powertrain, you get 2 upgrades this season and 2 upgrades next year as well. So what does this look like? Mercedes have been judged to be 2% or more, but not 4% down on power to Red Bull powertrain. That means Mercedes, who have been super dominant this season, are getting 1 upgrade for this season and 1 upgrade for next season. But Ferrari and other manufacturers are going to get 2 upgrades this season because they're over 4% behind the Red Bull powertrain, and 2 upgrades next season. Now, that's the maximum that can be offered right now. But we all know that Honda are about 10% down. So they're getting a lot more help. What does it look like? Mercedes, who are 2% off the power of Red Bull, they get an extra $3 million cost cap allowance and an extra 70 hours of bench testing. Ferrari are going to get $4.65 million and 100 hours of bench hours. And we reckon, same with Audi. And Honda, we think they're way down, and they're going to get $11 million plus 230 hours of bench testing. Is it going to make a big difference? Well, I think the big surprise is Mercedes get to improve their package, right? No one saw that coming because the power unit is good. And don't forget, there's 3 customer teams. So Mercedes get a better engine. That means McLaren do. That means Williams do. And that means Alpine do. That's surprising. Red Bull and Racing Bulls get no improvements for their engine. They're the benchmark, which I find absolutely baffling. So what does that mean? Mercedes are going to take a big step forward, even though they've got 1 additional upgrade opportunity. Ferrari have got 2 tokens, so they've got 2 upgrades. Now, here's the thing about those tokens. Lewis Hamilton was sharing his thoughts on it. Lewis Hamilton said, yeah, we've got these upgrades and we need the extra power, but it could take 6 to 10 months to get an upgrade in place. 6 to 10 months. That's a long time. So going back to the original story on tonight's show, that Lewis, I can catch Kimi. How are Ferrari going to give him the power if it's going to take 6 to 10 months to bring their additional upgrade opportunity to the Ferrari engine? And if you've got 2 tokens for this season, I mean, you want your first token to be spent like pretty damn quickly, don't you? You want it like for Spa. Is he right? I mean, maybe this is a question for our resident F1 engineer, Jim. I mean, can they get a first engine additional upgrade opportunity quicker than that? But Lewis Hamilton said it's 6 to 10 months of development. Surely they've been looking at it before that. Krakite says Ferrari need to upgrade their combustion system and they may as well upgrade the turbo now. The FIA have taken away their advantage. As for Lewis, he was exaggerating when he said that. Mind games. Thank you, Krakite. I mean, how long? Because I thought they must have been doing something in the background. They must have known that they're going to be awarded at least 1 additional upgrade opportunity. Surely they've been developing something that should. If that was me, I'd be like, we're down on power. I'd want to be absolutely ready to go with, all right, we've got our token. Here it is. Let's roll it out. Let's have it for Spa. Reese Cup, thank you so much for your super chat. Merck found a loophole or FIA blackmail. I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know how it's ended up that Red Bull have got the best powertrain. I mean, the best power unit. How the hell has that happened? I mean, it's quite remarkable It's quite remarkable, isn't it? They make their first Formula One power unit in conjunction with Ford, and it's the best, and it's the best. First time out. Honda, right? You know what I'm going to say. Experienced F1 power unit makers, huge success, one of the most decorated engine manufacturers in the world. And look at the shit they brought to the table. Right, in 2026. I mean, God, you're getting shown up there by Red Bull powertrains, aren't you, Honda? I mean, come on. I know they probably started a little bit later because Christian Horner started putting that together in 2021, 22, when he recruited over 200 staff from Mercedes high performance powertrains to come and work for Red Bull powertrains. I mean, look, I know Horner's not on the grid at the moment and he's got nothing to do with Red Bull right now, but Horner deserves quite a lot of credit for that. He was the guy that forced Red Bull to even set up Red Bull powertrains. He was the one that said, look, Honda are going, we should build our own. They didn't want to do it initially. It was Horner that forced them through to do it and brought the partnership in with Ford and got all of those staff from Mercedes high performance powertrains. So, you know, Horner deserves a lot of credit seeing his engine be the number one engine on the grid, to be fair, right? Like, you know, credit where it's due. What for me? F1 I'm not so quick to jump in on the Kimi bandwagon. I haven't seen him in the wet yet. So, not in the best car and anywhere further down the front row. Vettel-esque. Oh, I liked Vettel. I think Vettel's a great driver. The FIA only tested the ICE, not the full PU. Yeah, so they only tested the internal combustion engine. That's true. So, so maybe Mercedes. It's a good point, that, actually. What if your battery's crap? Right? What if your battery tech is really behind the curve compared to Mercedes? No one's getting are they getting an additional upgrade opportunity for the battery or not? Can they improve their battery cells? Because we've got a 50-50 split on battery tech and everyone's making their own batteries. So really, it's a good point. If your battery, maybe there's a lot of performance gains in the battery. Or then again, the Mercedes batteries they've been giving to McLaren haven't been very bloody good, have they? Because Lando Norris had another battery failure, I think, this weekend. Another battery problem. They're on the third. I think he might have to go into his fourth battery. He'll get a penalty for that. Yeah, no, it's interesting. Ford is the most successful race engine manufacturer, Eric Venter says. Yeah, look, you can't bet against them. You know, I always knew they were going to bring something pretty special. They had to. Anyway, so that's what's going on with the additional upgrade opportunities. But yeah, I need to have a look at this poll. How are we getting on? Would Kimi beat Max in the same car? Oh, it's close again, chat. It's nearly 50-50. 47% of you say yes. 53% of you say no. If you're just watching for the first time, get in the chat and get involved in this poll. The poll that we've got running right now is, on Kimi's form right now, Kimi Antonelli, would Kimi beat Max in the same car? At the moment, it's so close. 47% say yes. 53% of you say no. Yeah. Close. It's close. I think it's an interesting question because I think right now Kimi might. I think Kimi might. Carl Coolett says, Patrick, it's been my understanding that the new Ferrari engine is for next season. It's a shame if it is for next season though, Cal, because if they've been awarded 2 upgrade opportunities that they need to execute this season, they need to get a move on. Otherwise, you know, they've got 2 for next season and 2 for this season. That's 4 opportunities to improve your engine, isn't it? You want to take them all, right? And Dave Tringle says, yeah, good point, the Ferrari turbo. I would be thinking about that as well if I was Ferrari. Their small turbo was brilliant for the start of the season. All of the regulation changes and the new sort of start system, which has the MGU, has the battery basically kick in if someone's having a bad start. Look, I think their turbo, it's obvious now the advantage isn't the same. So maybe Ferrari should be looking at changing their turbo. Because, you know, a lot of tracks, a lot of long straights. Anyway, that's where we're up to with the additional upgrade opportunity. So Finally, Alpine going to war with the FIA. Well, click it on. Alpine challenged the result. Now, this could change everything about the Monaco result as well, depending on the outcome. Yeah, depending on the outcome, this literally could change everything about the Monaco result. So Alpine lodge right of review over Monaco Grand Prix result. Why? Well, Alpine have lodged a right of review with the FIA over the Monaco Grand Prix result and Pierre Gasly's penalties. Gasly finished third on the track in Monte Carlo for what would have been his first podium of the year, but finished seventh after receiving pit lane speeding penalties. Gasly received 2 different penalties in a race affected by a high number of pit lane speeding incidents, including Hamilton, George Russell, Oscar Piastri. In fact, there were 6 drivers that got penalties for speeding in the pit lane. Now, what is this? Right of review. So it's an appeal process, but the bar to successfully appeal and overturn in a right of review is incredibly high. Now, to be successful, the applicant, in this case Alpine, must present, I quote, a significant and relevant new element of evidence which was not available to the stewards at the time of the penalties being handed out. Have we ever seen a right of review work? Actually, yes. In 2025, Williams successfully did so after new camera evidence emerged after Carlos Sainz collided with Liam Lawson at the Dutch Grand Prix, which proved his innocence. So that was an example of a team saying, hey, we do have some new evidence that wasn't available to the stewards on track. We have this footage, and that right of review it worked out. They overturned the judgment. In this case, there's also been right of reviews which haven't. Example, stewards. So Sebastian Vettel had a 5-second penalty not being overturned on a right of review at the 2019 Canadian Grand Prix because they said driver testimony does not count. That's not classed as evidence. So if it's a case of Pierre Gasly going in saying, I wasn't speeding, Gov, I hit the pit lane limiter, it wasn't my fault, your technology is wrong. Well, they have all the data on track when the stewards made their decision. That wouldn't be evidence that the stewards didn't have at the time. And like I say, driver testimony doesn't count. So I don't know what evidence Alpine are going to present. It doesn't say it in this article from Racing News, but they have launched a right of review, which every team does have the right to do. If it's upheld, by the way, it means Gasly gets a podium. Hadjar loses his podium. But what does it mean for the other drivers, even George Russell? And that's what I wanted to lean into. If it turns out that there was a problem with the way they were measuring the pit lane speeds and Gasly's right of review gets upheld and he then gets reinstated as P3, well, then you've got to look at George Russell's result, who didn't execute his 5-second penalty when he came into the pits, and then had a further penalty of a drive-through penalty, which put him down to P12. The knock-on effect here could be quite huge, because I don't know what the evidence is that Alpine are presenting, but that evidence could impact all of the other drivers that were handed speeding penalties, which could literally change the entire result of the Monaco Grand Prix. George Russell could be back to P3. I don't know. It's very messy. So because of that, I kind of predict that right of review is not going to get upheld, regardless of the evidence that they present to the FIA. I just think that gets super messy. Reese Cup in with a super chat. All speeding were exactly 60.1 kilometers per hour. Gasly said his was set at 59.5 and was on it well before. I think that comes down to when we saw the cars effectively cutting the track. This is the thing I find weird about the drive-through penalty. So, sorry, without how they measure the speed of the cars. They measure the speed of the cars in the pit lane. It's not like you've ever been done by a policeman where he's pointed that gun at you to measure your speed. He gets a snapshot. Yeah, you are. You're doing 100 miles an hour. You're booked, right? And it just measures it in that snapshot, 100 miles an hour. That's not how it works in the pit lanes. What happens is it's like this average speed check where you get those cameras on the motorway where they have a camera which measures you, which takes your speed, and then another camera which is 100 yards down the road which measures how fast your car got there, and the way they measure the speed is how fast you went from point A to point B, and tells you whether they're doing 70 miles an hour or not. Now, if you cut a corner going into the pit lane, the measurement of that distance traveled becomes shorter, which effectively means you're going faster. Now, I don't know if that's what the problem was with all these drivers. They were just taking the shortest route down the pit lane, and from point A to point B measurement meant that it looked like the cars were traveling faster than they actually were. And even if they did cut the corner, that doesn't mean that you are speeding, does it? Right? It doesn't mean you're exceeding the pit lane speed. It just means you cut the corner. Is there a penalty for taking the fastest route down the pit lane? I'm not actually sure there is. So I think it's an interesting conversation, because if it's a speed limit, well then, is your car traveling the speed or not? And the only way to measure that is an accurate having a speed trap, which tells you how car the fast goes through that speed trap. So it's wild to me. I don't know. It could be a big scandal. It could blow into a big scandal, because the car's still, you could argue the car's still traveling at 60 kilometers an hour. Absolutely. Yeah, he cut the corner, so he might have got from point A to point B quicker, but that's not my problem. That's how you're measuring speed. That's the speed limit's the speed limit. I'm still doing the speed limit. It's not my problem that you're measuring it in a way that is fallible. So I don't know where that goes. I think that's probably going to be the argument, but it could literally affect the entire order of the Monaco Grand Prix. So we're going to have to watch and see how that develops. Right. I'm going to close the poll. So if you haven't got in with a poll yet, if you haven't answered the poll, would Kimi beat Max in the same car? This is your last chance. Yes or no? Would Kimi beat Max in the same car? Because I'm closing the poll. It's close. It's close, but it is close. Ending the poll. Let's see the results. So, would Kimi beat Max in the same car? 53% of you say no, and 47% of you say yes. Oh, it's a coin toss. It's close. But the Max fans get it. 53% of you still believe Max would beat Kimi in the same car. I'd love to see it though. It's going to be a race. I think whatever that result tells us is, I think it would be bloody close, wouldn't it? It'd be a hell of a race seeing those two in the same car. So yeah, it's a good one. I don't know. It's been a good one. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Do smash a big thumbs up on the video if you've enjoyed it before you go. Remember, I'm back tomorrow at 7:30 GMT. Tell your friends, bring them into the community. You're very welcome. They're all very welcome. And if you're watching for the first time, subscribe to the channel before you go. I'm going to see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much for all your super chats and continued support. Honestly, it means the absolute world to me. And if you're watching on replay, then there will be a couple of videos below me here that you might want to check out. I'm going to see you all tomorrow night, 7:30 GMT, unless I see you before with some breaking Formula One news. Ta-ta.